best is yet to come, and babe, won't it be fine?
You think you've seen the sun, but you ain't seen it shine.
Hello everyone, welcome once again to Ask the Treksperts, the show where we answer your questions about Star Trek. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Sarah.
Sarah, today's question comes from, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Horasiosi. You can see it on your screen. I did my very best. Horasiosi asks us to name 10 things that are wrong with First Contact.
I can do that.
10 things. This is a different sort of question than we've had before. Usually people just ask us to review movies and review episodes of the shows. No, this time it's name things that are wrong with it.
Yeah.
It strikes me as a glass half empty kind of person.
It does indeed.
But it's a fun topic. We thought it was hilarious. So this gives us a chance to nitpick something. Or not, well, not just nitpick. I mean, we try to pick some bigger stuff on this, but
yeah.
For the most part,
but it gives me the opportunity to not feel like I'm bashing a movie. But because this time I'm supposed to.
Yeah,
so.
It was weird. You know, when we were watching it again for this, and of course we watched it again for this, and so we're not going to completely review the movie. We're just going to answer his question. You know, I feel like I should have a blue book, like I'm in college. You know what I mean? Like, name 10 things that are wrong with Star Trek: First Contact. Like, it sounds like an essay question. But anyway.
I wish I had gotten that essay in college.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. But
Yours final.
This strikes me as this struck me as actually kind of difficult while watching it, just because I'm so used to thinking be objective,
and I'm not. So.
And so Sarah was fine. She was just like,
I had like 25 things and had to cut them off.
I kept trying to think of things to like counterbalance it, you know, where I was just like, yeah, but this part's good and this part's good. So let me start off by saying that we like things about First Contact.
Yeah.
We're just not going to mention any of those things in this video.
And we're going to sound pretty nitpicky in places, even though we probably wouldn't mention these things in a review. So
he just said, or he or she, whoever this is, just said name 10 things. So we put this in no particular order.
Yeah.
And Sarah, why don't you go first?
Okay.
And we'll just alternate between each other with the list, and we'll each add points to it as we go along.
Yes.
What is number 1? And we compiled this list together.
So he picked some things, I picked some things,
and we put it
and a lot of these were on both of our lists.
So Sarah.
Yes. Okay.
The
problem
first thing
number 1.
That is a problem with First Contact. Go ahead.
The entire Borg time travel plot. Does that sound horrible? Like just the Borg time travel plot.
She's like, you know what? The biggest problem with the movie is the premise. Just the basic premise doesn't work. Anyway, okay. So what are the biggest issues you have just with the Borg time traveling?
Okay. Just that sentence, really. Borg time traveling. Okay, think about this. When else have we seen the Borg time travel?
Or
Even just ever.
Yeah, no, that's
even
true.
through all of Voyager, which was the Borg show, and I know that came afterwards, but still.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Borg are scary enough. Why do they need time travel? And also, where did they get it? Why do they use it?
I'm not
They're
sure
not
it's
generally that
important.
creative.
Yeah, that's the bit for me, is that the Borg aren't creative. The Borg don't, and that's been a plot point in a lot of places, where the Borg don't think outside the box like that.
Yeah.
Man, they just go assimilate people.
Yeah, they take a ship, or a group of ships, and they go to a planet, or a ship, and they say, we are Borg, resistance is futile, you're dead. Or Borg.
Yeah.
So,
I don't have as big of a problem that they have the ability to time travel, because I could see them assimilating that. I mean, like, we had that in the 23rd century, the Federation did.
It would be just...
I sound like the Federation is my favorite sports team. We had that.
Yeah, but it would be irrelevant. In my mind.
I don't think so. I think that would potentially be something useful for the Borg to use to assimilate worlds. Potentially. I'm just not sure why they do it in this case. Well, I don't know.
I don't know why they... I mean... If you go,
it's not a very direct method, is it?
No, and the Borg are very direct.
If anything, if they were going to use time travel at all, I think they'd just go back to the beginning of time, assimilate everything. But then,
because the whole point of the Borg is biological and technological distinctiveness, which you don't have.
Well, to add that to their
So
it's about perfection.
Yeah.
You can't have perfection if you don't allow races to progress, so you can then go steal their stuff from them.
Exactly. Because otherwise...
Well, it's not even about stealing their stuff, it's about making them part of you.
Yeah, because that's how they advance.
You're right. They wouldn't even care about time travel.
Exactly.
All right. Fair enough. I agree with you. No, yes. I agree with you. Sure. I think it's one of those things where they had two really good ideas,
Yeah.
Let's do a Borg movie,
Instead of picking one.
and let's do a movie about First Contact. And those two things just don't really go together.
No.
I'm sorry, but I think that the whole "let's go back and stop First Contact" thing would be great for a bunch of different races. I could almost see that being a Romulan plot. I can see it as some other plots. Not the Borg.
Yeah.
Not the Borg.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe that should have been Nero's plot.
Well, not my point. These are all both of our points, but some of them are mine, some of them are yours. But the second thing we have on here is that the Defiant gets taken out way too early in the fight at the beginning, because that was a ship that was, and I looked this up and confirmed it. That was a ship that was created to fight the Borg, and you have all these ships. And the Defiant is one of the first ones that gets taken out.
It's not the first one, but it's pretty
No,
early.
it's one of. It's one of the first ones. You have a lot of other ships that seem to be doing okay, and that one gets blown out of the water first.
Yeah.
Now it survives. You have Riker calling it a tough little ship. I mean, it could be that it was out there for a while before it got hurt.
Because Picard didn't even show up on the scene until they were having trouble.
That's true.
But and I would say that the Defiant would have been in closer combat with the Borg cube, or at least I would assume so, especially with Worf captaining.
But explain to me what exactly was going on in that ship when there were only 2 people left on the bridge. That was weird.
So,
all right, next point.
Well,
sorry, you have more things?
It was made to ram Borg cubes.
Yeah.
That's what it was made for. That was its whole battle tactic.
Well, you have some captains who very clearly want to blow up the ship.
Yes.
Picard, at least in this case,
always
is not
in the
one of them.
movies.
And then you have other people who just want to ram it really fast, and that's both Picard and Worf.
And you
apparently.
know that ensign or lieutenant or whoever was there on the bridge with Worf was going, "Thank you," when the Enterprise showed up, because he did not want to ram
the ship. All right, go ahead.
Okay, number 3. Lazy explanation for why the Enterprise isn't affected by the changes in the timeline.
Yeah. Okay. So they're like, there's this temporal wake that the Enterprise gets caught in, and that's their explanation for why it's not affected by the changes. Keep in mind that it's not gone back in time yet. They see the sphere going back in time, and they're able to see this through a temporal wake, and then they're all like, Crusher's like, why weren't we affected? And then Data says, well, somehow the temporal wake must have stopped. Yeah, that's really lazy, really contrived, really quick. And I mean, like, okay, so they need something that's probably going to be somewhat contrived. Obviously, but they didn't even try to mask it. They just went, whatever. The Enterprise has to. I think my problem, less than the temporal wake thing, is more that it conveniently is the only ship around when it happens.
Yeah. See, for me, okay, it's a problem, but it's not a huge problem.
It's not a huge problem. No.
It's just kind of my problem with time travel episode shows in general. Because you always need the contrivance to get them there.
But don't you think Star Trek 4 was more thoughtful about it? Let's remember that we did the slingshot thing.
Yeah, let's remember this contrived thing that we did episodes earlier.
But it at least acted as if it was being clever about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
I'm not saying it's a big problem.
But
hey, this guy just said pick 10, and that's one. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a problem with time travel shows in general.
Well, hey, this next one is yours.
Okay.
And I didn't think this was as big of a problem as you did, so
and it's huge.
there we go. No, it's not. Go ahead.
Okay, so I get to read my own. Okay.
Yes.
Data and the Borg Queen. Okay. Here's the problem. That whole plot, I don't get it.
You just don't get it.
I just don't get it. Okay. I can see how the Borg Queen would be interested in Data as a piece of technology to assimilate, and you can't do it by normal methods because he's an android.
Okay.
And so you can't just put your tubules in him and infect him and he turns Borgy.
Yeah.
You have to do it a different way. But then there's the whole thing with she needs him to be her new locutus. I'm not sure where that fit. I never understood that part in the first place.
Yeah, the only thing I could figure is that she was leading him on so that she could get the information she needed from him. That was the only thing I could gather, which is the reason I'm assuming that she gives him that skin and tries to get him closer to being human.
Yeah, but okay.
Of course, your problem with that was how the heck
does
she know about that?
Yeah, how does she know about the whole Data wants to be human, skin will do anything for him, and then the sexual tension is just weird.
I'd call it forced.
Yeah.
I call it forced, yeah.
Yeah, I just, it goes over my head, so...
It's clear why it's there. It's clear that it's a Frakes is making an action movie. He's trying to make a big giant action movie that has all the stuff that people expect in those kinds of movies. So you've got the horror scenes, and you've got the battle scenes, and then you've got the sexual tension thing going on.
Yeah,
and I'm with you. I think that it should have been with somebody else.
Yeah.
I think that if Picard had somehow been involved in a Borg Queen is trying to make him Locutus again plot, you could have had some there, and it could have worked to a degree.
Yeah.
More so than this.
More so than this, because this is somebody entirely different and an android, and just because he has an emotion chip does not mean that they have to get together and hook up.
Yeah. I don't know. I never really thought about it all that hard before. But but the thing is, I see the Borg Queen as such a contrivance anyway that I don't think anything she does make sense. So
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But it just always bothered me because, you know, there are a lot of things about this movie that make me want to like it. And
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of any of the movies, except Con. But,
Yeah. No, I know.
like, this one I wanted to like.
Well, again, we're not going to talk about the things we like about it. So here we go. Let's try to move along a bit faster. The next bit is that the Best of Both Worlds got rewritten by this movie by putting the Borg Queen there retroactively. By having Picard suddenly go, oh, wait a minute, I remember you.
Yeah.
Okay, at the end of Best of Both Worlds, he clearly states, if I'm remembering this correctly, and sorry if I'm misquoting this because it's been a little while, but if I remember Best of Both Worlds right, at the end of that episode, he says he remembers everything, as if he was looking at someone else doing these actions in his own body,
Yeah.
or, you know, looking behind somebody else's eyes, and this is conveniently the one thing that he didn't remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't buy it.
And apparently they were closer than you'd normally figure.
Yes.
And it's just like, okay, how would you forget that?
And another question that I have is, you don't like the whole Borg sphere thing.
No.
And
I don't.
what I gotta wonder, and that never bugged me until you brought this up today. We've talked about all this before the show.
Yeah, well, we had to put the list together.
To put the list together, yeah. Sarah was like, and I love this. Sarah was like, okay, look. Because I said, well, of course they'd have a Borg sphere. She was like, why would they have an escape pod? I'm like, well, to save the Queen. And because they're British, they gotta save the Queen. And she's
Borg save the Queen.
The Borg have to save the Queen.
Yeah.
And she's Borg Queen the second, and or whatever, or probably more than that.
If she was on the Borg cube in Best of Both Worlds, she would be Borg Queen the second.
Yeah, because Sarah was like, okay, first of all, they could just copy her probably.
And
Now,
we've seen this in Voyager.
and that's, again, a later thing. But, secondly, and more importantly, she apparently was there in Best of Both Worlds, even though we didn't know it, and they didn't have a Borg sphere there, unless it shot out and they didn't show it to us. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I can see why that's a problem.
And again, I mean, if it's not an escape pod for the Queen or anything like that, then just why do they have it? I mean, it goes back to their whole tactical thing. They're very straightforward. They take in a cube, they blow stuff up, they assimilate people, you're done. That's all they generally need.
What's next?
Okay. The Borg Queen herself. She takes away what made the Borg terrifying by giving them a face, just to have a singular bad guy.
Well, that's what I think.
Yeah.
Because I wrote that sentence. but do you agree with me on that?
Yeah, no, I do. I thought the Borg were way scarier when they were actually a hive mind collective with nobody running it.
Here's the problem. It's very difficult, and I'm giving Frakes a little bit of an out on this, because it's so hard to straddle the fence between making a thoughtful Star Trek film and an action movie.
Yeah.
And he's wanting to make an action movie. Now, you can say, oh, well, you shouldn't make Star Trek an action movie. But, so, I mean, you know, you can argue that. But if you're going to try it, the question is, how do you do it? Well, the problem is that the Borg are scary psychologically. They're scary physically. They look scary, but they're more scary psychologically. The idea is, I'm thinking about what it would be like to be one of them, and that's why they're frightening, because they take away your humanity
your
and your
choices,
singularness.
And, your
and
individuality.
by giving them a face, I think it oversimplifies them, because it feels like no matter how you slice it, and people argue this all the time with the Borg Queen, and we did a video on the Borg Queen, so we shouldn't belabor this. But people who like the Borg Queen have argued with this with me over and over again, where they say, well, just because they have a queen doesn't mean that takes that concept away. And I say, no, it doesn't take it away. It just now they have a singular face. What was scary about them was that
they were a force of nature.
They were a force of nature,
yeah,
exactly.
But now the problem is that it's not everybody's collective consciousness coming together to, as one, solve a problem.
It feels like there's one thing that controls them.
There's one thing that's overriding everybody, and she can just cock her head and think, and drones come and go at her call.
Yeah.
And stuff happens. And that's not
what they were.
It was originally. So.
Yeah. And I mean, like, things can evolve, but this feels like an unnecessary retcon.
Yeah,
it is more of a retcon
and
the thing is,
an evolution.
I understand. I want to be objective about this. There have been a lot of retcons in Star Trek that I have liked.
Yes.
The Trill.
Yes.
There are retcons in Star Trek
the
that
Ferengi.
I like. Yeah. They're there. But when it was better the first time, it should have stayed that way.
Yeah.
It was better the first time.
Yeah.
Okay, the next bit. Okay, I think there is a big regression in Picard's character from Iborg because Sarah argued with me round and round for years.
It took me
and
how many, like 5, 6 years to convince him of this.
I'm finally coming around to this. Here's the thing, the line must be drawn here scene is so well acted.
Brilliant.
It's so well written. It's brilliant, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
In the context of Star Trek.
Yeah.
I hate that, but it doesn't. And really, the reason is because this film standing alone, okay.
Yeah.
Let me throw that out there.
Yeah.
This film standing alone, I don't think Picard's out of character.
Yeah.
If you've seen TNG...
Because he's consistent through the movie.
He's consistent through the movie.
Yes.
If you've seen TNG, he's not within character. Yeah. Because if you go back to Iborg, he had a chance to get revenge on the Borg. Mm-hmm. And he got scolded later for not doing it.
Yeah.
And they had Hugh, and he wanted to hate Hugh because Hugh was a Borg, and because he wanted revenge on the Borg, basically.
Yeah.
And he devised a way to have Hugh take a virus back to the Borg and destroy them all.
Yeah.
As best as he possibly could. The Federation wanted him to do this, or at least Starfleet did. Yeah. And he ultimately didn't because of his morality. Because his morality told him that Hugh had become his own person, and that would be wrong.
Yeah.
And then you get to this, and he's doing a lot of way more wrong things. It wasn't a question of life or death in Iborg. Did I say Q-Who earlier? If I did, I meant Iborg.
I thought you said.
Okay, I hope I did.
Yeah.
I meant Iborg with Hugh. In that, it wasn't even a life and death scenario. It was simply, this guy is a person. He's not just a Borg now. And it would be, and as Guinan says, it would be wrong of him to send this person back to the collective to kill his people. Here, Picard won't blow a ship up, and as you keep saying, he wants to send all of his crew in hand-to-hand combat with no weapons
because the phasers by this point aren't
even working.
So he says, "I don't care. Go hold them back with." Nothing.
We have to stand our ground because we keep falling back all the time.
And that just means more people will be assimilated.
Yeah, the problem with that is the movie acts like they've had more incursions with the Borg than they have. That's one thing to keep in mind, because he says, they keep coming and we keep falling back. Well, the last time that I'm recalling that you really fell back, it was your fault anyway. It was you who did it. You're the one who said, we can't do this with you. And so at the beginning of the movie, I'm belaboring this, but I think it's interesting. At the beginning of the movie, when Starfleet says, hey, we don't want to send Picard in there, because he was too close to the situation because of what happened to Best of Both Worlds, my first assumption is not that they think, based on what happened in TNG, my first assumption is not that they think, oh, he's like a total... he's a loose cannon. Yeah. He's too reckless to go in. I'm thinking the opposite. Yeah. If he has a chance to destroy the Borg, he might not take it because he didn't the last time.
Yeah, especially if Netchev's in charge of the fleet.
And so in Picard's mind, he's like, no, I'm the perfect man for the job because I've dealt with the Borg before, and maybe, I don't know, I've learned from my mistakes from my Borg, and I'm actually going to go kill them this time.
Yeah.
At the beginning, I'm thinking, no, he's right on.
Yeah.
And then the movie says, no, he's a loose cannon.
Yeah.
What?
And
so
Picard as a loose cannon is weird to me.
So if you only have seen the Star Trek movies, or you've seen this and you haven't seen much Star Trek and you love this, and that's not going to be a problem for you because it's not a problem for the movie.
No.
But in the context of Picard's character overall, it doesn't work.
Yeah. It may even follow up with Generation, as much as an action.
Generations?
Yeah. Where they tried to make him an action hero, and he does.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
and that's true of all of them.
Yeah. So, but it just doesn't work with the rest of the series. So.
Next point.
Why is Earth so special?
Oh, this is your point. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So the Borg come in, and they send one ship all the way from the Delta Quadrant to Earth just to destroy Earth. And they did it in...
And they did that in Best
of Both Worlds. Didn't work, so they try it again. And
a lot later.
And not only that, but they alter their normal battle tactics just to try to take Earth. So...
You mean with time travel?
With time travel.
Okay.
They go back in time to try to stop Zefram Cochrane, which we've already discussed. Why it is...
We think that's goofy.
Yeah. But, okay, so why is Earth so special? Is it just because we're from Earth and we made the movie?
Yeah, because there are a lot of other planets, Class M planets, with people on them all over the Alpha Quadrant.
Yeah, and a lot of them between the Delta Quadrant and Earth.
Why don't they stop off for a hamburger? You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, I mean, like, okay, are there planets that are easier to take than Earth? Probably.
Most definitely.
Are there a lot of non-Federation worlds in the Alpha Quadrant? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is Earth so special? It's not like we're the most technologically advanced species even in the Alpha Quadrant.
Yeah, I mean, I could see them going after maybe the Romulans, or...
The Romulans have technology we're not even allowed to mess with.
Yeah.
I don't see the Borg having a phasing clone. No. I mean, I know the Romulans aren't using that right now either. I'm just saying that they have developed things before that are well beyond anything that the Federation... I keep saying we. You know, us and the Federation. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I'm in Time Fleet. I don't know where you're from.
Sometimes I have to remind myself that Star Trek is just a TV... No, I'm kidding. Okay, so, I love this point. So, this is our second to last point. So, the Borg sphere comes in, and just before it gets destroyed really quickly and kind of easily, just before the Borg sphere gets destroyed, they manage to kill, with the blast they're sending down, several people in the complex. Mm-hmm. How does this not change the future in any way whatsoever?
So those people were completely unimportant.
Yeah, just because they weren't Zefram Cochrane.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I'm not ticked off that, some people died in the past and so it didn't change the future, as much as... Because, I mean, that would be dumb to even do that. Basically, if you're arguing that point, you're saying, well, nobody should die in the past, even though they probably would. I'm saying, why didn't anybody at least mention it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why isn't Picard...
no, I hope nobody was important here.
Yeah, exactly. And Picard just goes, well, let's find out if one of them is Cochrane, because if it is, then the future may have died with him. That's what he says. And I'm just like, this is a really important site. You know, Cochrane obviously had help. You can't tell me that there aren't important people there, or potentially, that had children, You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean, like, I know this gets a little bit into, like, butterfly effect and stuff, but I mean, like, you know, really, if you think that it's possible that if you just, like, step on a twig and it could totally screw up the future, killing, like, 12 people in a complex, or however many it was, that sounds pretty significant to me.
Yeah.
Anyway,
exactly.
Last point.
Last point. Here's the funny one. Why not use hand-to-hand combat or replicate machine guns after Picard figures out that works? So
Picard goes into his Dixon Hill program, and and this is kind of a smart thing. He's like, well, they've adapted to our phasers. Let's go find some other weapons. So he goes into his Dixon Hill program in the holodeck, and the machine guns work. And for whatever reason, just because they're projectile weapons, they don't seem to be capable, even kind of
stopping the middle.
Even though they have personal shielding, which is weird to me.
And other points in the movie, you see Worf
with a mechlith. Yeah.
You see, Data just, breaks the neck of one of them. I mean...
Like he did back in Descent?
Yeah. I mean, you see all sorts of different hand-to-hand combat sorts of things.
Yeah. And if I were fighting the Borg, I would just pull tubes off as hard as I could, constantly. Because it seems like their personal shields only seem to work against, like, phaser fire and stuff. At least in this. And so what would be so hard about just replicating a bunch of machine guns?
Yeah, exactly.
And
nobody thinks about it.
Yeah, and what's really weird
Nobody addresses
what's really weird at all, and what's weird about that is a lot of these, the problem seems to be, well, they had to come up with a contrived way to make an action movie work. People in the 24th century with projectile machine guns running around firing at Borg, how does that not work for an action movie? Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm just saying it would have been fine. Why didn't we do that?
Yeah. Instead, you get a bunch of scenes, and see, this wouldn't have been a problem if they hadn't used any of these methods.
Yeah, exactly.
If they hadn't even
thought about it
or anything like that, if you would just be left with the assumption, oh, well, if phasers can't get through, well, maybe they can't actually punch the guy in the face.
Yeah, exactly.
But instead you're left with, well, they didn't adapt to that. Why not keep trying? So.
Well, hey, there's 10 things we think is wrong with First Contact. I'm sure there's going to be some folks that'll disagree with some of our choices.
And I'm sure there are folks who will find plenty more.
We'll find plenty more, yeah. But once again, even though we're not talking about any of them, I like First Contact. I really do. I enjoy the movie.
Yeah, it's fun to watch.
I think it's a lot of fun to watch. I think there's a lot of things that are just kind of lazy about it.
Yeah.
And on the whole, I'm with you about the Trek movies.
Yeah.
Just that generally it makes a better TV show than it does films, and I've always thought that. And this movie is made a lot more for people who just like watching movies more than it is for people who like Star Trek, and that's fine. You know, for the most part, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But somebody asked us to come up with 10, so that's what we did.
There we go.
If you have a question for Ask the Treksperts, please leave that in the comments below. We have we have a whole bunch of episode requests right now that we need to go to. Stuff from like a year ago, just going all the way back. There are a lot of there are a whole bunch of them right now, so we should totally start trying to fill some of those out.
We should knock them out.
We should knock some of those out. And anyway, thanks as always for watching. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Sarah.
We'll see you next time on Ask the Treksperts.